was it like arriving at this decision?
These are difficult decisions. You know, I'm someone who's been on the job for 2 months, and we're relieving some really good people and people who've been here for a long time. So these obviously these decisions aren't taken lightly. In my time here, I've got to know these guys that in question, and they're all good people. I wanted to lean out the staff a bit. I wanted to reposition some people in duties, and these are hard decisions that we have to make, that I had to make, and but they were difficult. It was a tough weekend.
Does hockey philosophy come into it at all?
I think what it is imparting a certain way of doing business, imparting a certain philosophy that you speak of, and it's not really a reflection of them. You know, it's you know, at the end of the day, we have to get better at evaluating players and developing players, and unfortunately, some people have to lose their jobs. So, you know, we all have different philosophies on how to develop players. There's nothing really magical about it. It's just that we have to get these things done and be successful at it, and that's one of the reasons why I was brought in here.
Do you anticipate putting some new people in place before you head to Florida, or or other people?
I'm heading to Florida in about 3 hours, so no. But you know, some people will be shuffled around a little bit. Their duties will be tweaked a little bit. I've got some written job descriptions for people that I've had preliminary discussions with. You know, we may add someone at some point, not before the draft. This is something that I want to work from the top down, and there's some people that I have in mind, but you may not hear anything from me on this front for for another couple of months.
When you say lean
calls at the table, then when we announce the names, do you usually do
Yeah, I'll be on the mic. Yeah, for the subsequent rounds. Yeah.
when you talk
I don't like being on it, but that'll change next year. But yeah.
when you talk about leaning out and you look at a head scout, is that going to fall under Bob Green's, or do you look at hiring another guy for that?
Bob's our director of player personnel, and he's you know, him and Scott and Stu have been part of a group that have gotten us our list to this stage. Both are going to have expanded duties going forward.
Peter, where do you, I don't know if we've asked since you've taken the job, but fundamentally, where do you stand on the idea of offer sheets to restricted free agents? Are you diametrically opposed? Are you open to the option? Where do you stand?
No, I'm not. I mean, it's a tool in our toolbox. I was faced with it in Boston on a couple of occasions, one very public, one not public. It's something you accept as a manager if you're on the other end. And now I may be on the other side of that, and it's something that you can use, and certainly I wouldn't rule out using it.
Peter, heading into the draft, a lot of fans and people are wondering about your 16th pick. Is it up for sale in the trade? Would you rather trade something else and draft with it? Where's your head around that pick?
You know, there's going to be a really good player with that pick, and you know, instinctively, you want to keep the pick, you know, especially as the draft approaches, you get a little more pumped about that pick and that player. Those picks are valuable on a number of levels, and the other level is that it could get you a pretty good player. So instinctively, yes, I'd like to keep it. Short answer.
will you be trading your second round pick for a goaltender?
Listen, there are goalies out there. We've had discussions with teams. We're in a group of my guess is 2 or 3, maybe 4 teams that are looking for goalies. There's more goalies than those number of teams, so we're a bit of a buyer's market. Having said that, we've got multiple picks, so I seem to be a popular potential trading partner. So on that front, so your question was, would we trade a second round pick? Yeah, sure, I'd look into doing that possibly. Yeah.
Would you draft a goaltender in the second round?
Maybe. You know, we've got some goalies that we like, and you know, oftentimes when you have multiple picks, you you don't go off the chart a little bit, but that's kind of when your goalies get into your consideration. So it would be tough to say at this point. We've got a list, and it will change between now and this week. How it changes and the magnitude of the changes, I'm not sure. I know I've had discussions with Scott and Bob in the last couple of days. So, and there are goalies in the mix too in that second round.
Trade the 16th pick for a defenseman.
Wow. I'm open to all type of offers except for the first pick overall. No, I'm serious. I am. So like I could, sure.
The balance between getting better right now or getting better in 2 or 3 years when some of your young players mature, what are you leaning more towards?
Well, it's not that we have time. Like I mean, I understand we've made some changes here, and coach, GM, we're going to get some new players. There's competitive urges in all of us, and the margins are so small that you can get into the playoffs and you can do some damage. So there's that temptation, I'll call it. But you want to do it properly. We've got some young players that you want to make sure you surround them with good players. That's very important for their development. We've got some young players who maybe won't start with us, maybe will finish with us. So there's a lot of steps along the way. There's a lot of good players here. We've got some holes that we want to fill. But I can tell you that you do get tempted with some of the players that come across your desk. You do get tempted with moving a little more quickly, but there's a balance there, and that's what we gotta ensure that we maintain it.
Are teams calling you because you've got fair bit of cap room and you've got lots of draft picks? So if you can take one of their expensive players, they figure that you might want to do that.
There's been more calls like that. Yeah. No, there's been more calls like that in the last week or so.
As a manager, can you kind of just define the excitement level of being able to go up there and say, we're getting maybe the best guy and come down the pipe in 30 years?
It's pretty exciting. It's really, I've heard, dimensional, generational, all that stuff. We had him in town here last week. Was it last week? Sunday with his family, and he's a humble kid, but he's driven.
Sorry, Peter, will you just keep it unofficial that it's Connor McDavid until Friday night, or how?
Yeah,
Because I haven't really heard anyone say it officially. Is that the way you prefer to do it?
I'm not going to make any proclamations. Let's leave it at that. But I think you guys can figure it out.
Can you finish what you were saying before?
Yeah. Reel me back in. What was the question again? Oh, okay. So he's he's a humble kid, but he's a driven kid. Excited if we draft him. As a manager, yeah, like when you see a player like that, then you're able to draft him. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but you want to make sure that the proper steps are taken to get him up and running. But it only comes around once in a while.
When you're talking about goaltenders, there's different goalies out there. There's the odd guy with some experience, and there's a lot of unproven guys. You did it 2 different ways in Boston with Thomas and then Tuukka Rask. Do you have a preference of getting an experienced guy, or are you willing to take a chance on a younger guy?
For me, there's a couple of groups of goalies out there, and I'm not adverse to either of the types of groups. You've got some younger, smaller sample size guys. You've got some more proven guys. For me, it's about fitting into how we're going to improve our D and how we're going to play defensively. But again, at the end of the day, it takes 2 to tango, so you have to get the right deal in place. And I'm not adverse to either going to the free agent market either. So whether it's the trade market or the free agent market, we've got, we're going to play better defensively. We hope to improve our defense. Our defensemen will improve. Their defensive play will improve. So. This goalie thing, we've been looking at it very closely, and it's tough. I mean, you see some of the trades of goalies like in the past. You don't know how they're gonna pop. I mean, we ended up getting Rask in Boston, and we were able to bring him along slowly and until he was ready. Sometimes you're not. At the same time, we weren't able to bring Michael Hutchinson along slowly, and he popped for Winnipeg. So. It's a real inexact science, and you really got to go to the character of the goalie and how your team's going to play defensively. And my guess is we'll probably be able to do something before the draft, but I'm not completely sure.
Peter, do you want to take a look at your players on your own team before you think about trading anybody? I mean, you're a new general manager. full year or something to say, okay, now I got a better read on these guys?
That's a large part of it. Like, you really want to see how they play. I mean, like, as an opposing GM, you see all the other teams play, and you make an assessment and you talk about all the other teams. But until you see them day to day, until you see how they practice, until you see how they interact with each other, with the coach, that's the full information you need to make a decision. So that would be ideal, but we don't always work under ideal circumstances.
Anything new with signing Lefbaum or Schultz or any of those respective free agents?
No, I don't really. I'm not going to comment on negotiations. That'll be kind of my practice. I may once in a while, but generally I won't.
Peter, where are you at regarding just all the things you've had to look at and trying to build a team, and just your comfort level here since you started to heading into the draft and then not long after that free agency? I'm
getting there. Like, you know, it's about we've had amateur meetings, we've had pro meetings, we've had some significant restructuring this weekend. There'll be some more restructuring. There'll be some more business side restructuring. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's my second time round into this type of environment. First with Boston, now here. So I mean, the experience helps. It's hard to. You know, they're good people, and you feel you're coming in, and you know what the right decision has got to be, and it's a hard decision whether it's dealing with, you know, hockey ops people or players. But you have to do it. You got to grind, and you got to do it. And you got to make the right decisions, and day by day, you get a little more acclimatized, and it probably won't be till, you know, August that I feel that I'm fully entrenched.
Does Greg Pavish have a title yet?
Not yet. No, I have to sit with Mac T. We've discussed a variety of duties. I have to sit down with him and go over a title.
Scott House, because he was the assistant or the.
He was VP hockey ops. So there might be some shuffling around of titles, but Scott, again, I've talked to Scott about detailing his duties and some added duties, and we'll figure that out in the next little bit.
Where are you at with the coaching staff?
Pardon me?
Where are you at with the coaching staff?
I would hope that we have 2 additional assistants before Friday. Yeah. I would think that we would. Yeah, based on my discussions.
With a young prospect like a Draisaitl, I mean, things have changed at the center ice position. Talk that maybe if he makes the club, that he can shift him to the wing. I mean, fundamentally, what do you think about taking a young franchise type centerman and shifting him to the wing, Galchenyuk, that type of thing? Would you rather see a guy make it as a center?
Well, you want to ease his path a little bit, and at the same time, you want him to be able to, you know, go through the trenches and kind of earn his badge too. In my experience with Kessel and Sagan, it was a good thing to put them on the wing. It's something I haven't ruled out with Leon. You know, he's big and he's strong. It may help his first few steps starting off the wall. These are some of the considerations we look at. It may give him a different appreciation. He likes both. I'm sure he likes. I haven't talked to him, but I'm sure most centers like to be able to use both sides of the ice. So, and they like to use the lower ice to gain speed. So, you know, it's something that I've thought about, and it's something that we'll see how it evolves. You might see him in both positions in camp.